Well, good afternoon and welcome to H360 Live. My name is Dave Duplay. Sitting beside me this afternoon, as always, is my friend, my colleague from Healthy h360, Ms. Courtland Long. Well, Courtland, we've got a great show today because we are taking some of the best inspirational quotes that we've received from patients and caregivers over about the last 18 months of recording H360 Live and bringing them to you today.
I think this is going to be an excellent episode. It's a really nice compilation of, as you said, all the patients and caregivers we've had on the show. And I think that it's a really great way to recap and honor everyone we've had.
Yeah, absolutely. So sit back, enjoy this show. It's really going to be inspirational, and we'll see you in just a little bit.
We were over in Germany at our annual partners meeting, and we had a piece of dinner and a piece of steak, and it got stuck in my esophagus. And the pain was intense, and I jumped up from the table, and just as I jumped up, that piece of meat cleared. And when we got back to the States, I was out to lunch with a client, and I had a hamburger, and the same thing happened. I said, oh, something's wrong. So I contacted my doctor, and she arranged for an upper GI series to be performed. I was sitting at home when I got a phone call from her saying, are you sitting down? And I said, no, why should I be sitting down? He says, because you have cancer. I said, cancer? Cancer of what? She said, the esophagus. I said, how could you have cancer in a tube? She said, well, you do. You have cancer. He said, the chemo that we'll put you through is 24 hours a day, 5 days a week for 6 weeks. And then radiation, 28 continuous treatments daily.
On top of that?
On top of the chemo, every day for 28 days of that 6-week period.
Wow.
He said, we'll let you rest for 2 months, and then we'll do a surgery. After going through the chemo, going through the radiation, and going through the surgery, the bad effect, if there is one, basically, is that my chance of surviving 5 years was a 5 to 10%. And my wife and I sat down and said, you know, how do we say thank you to what they did? How do we give something back? So we talked to Dr. Baines, and he said, he mentioned the patient-to-patient program at Sloan Kettering. In that program, patients who have been through a cancer come back and walk the journey with patients who had that cancer. After we had done the patient-to-patient volunteer program, he was saying that, I said to him, I said, what else can we do? And he said, well, you know, the information that people are getting off the internet is so poor, we ought to really try and give them something. So we talked about doing a book, and 100 questions and answers was what we thought about. So that's how the Esophageal Cancer Education Foundation got created. Effectively, it's 3 parts. To make people aware and educate the public about esophageal cancer, to support patients who have this disease. The third mission statement is to support research projects that will lead to an early detection of this disease.
I was in my backyard doing some stuff, and I just started feeling worse and worse and worse. And I called my wife and said, we're going to the hospital now. And I get to the hospital, and not only do they diagnose me with diabetes, but I was DKA, which is a really, really serious form of, of diabetes at that point. I was very, very bad. I was very lax about my health care, and it's a real problem for me. I'm a very busy person, and it's a wonderful excuse for not taking care of yourself. When I went to the hospital, it was a real eye-opener. I was doing great, and then you get a little cocky, and it's like, I feel good, my blood sugars are great. As a matter of fact, at that point, they had taken me off insulin because I had dropped weight and my body was sort of reverting back to the way it was. I was actually doing very well. And then you just say, I don't need to do this anymore. And that's exactly what I did. And wound up back in the hospital. I had gone through a long period of time with constant infections in the foot. And it would also tend to retain fluids, so it would get nice and big. And I had been living with that for a while, but I never, it never occurred to me that I was going to have an amputation. It's a very, very difficult thing mentally, not only physically to go through, because there's so much rehabilitation and so much stuff to get you back standing and doing things, but mentally it's very tiring. There are days you just can't stop thinking about it. I was lucky both times to have below-the-knee amputations, which is great, which means that the infections didn't spread up into your leg or into your other parts of your body. It's amazing. Once I got out of the surgery, it was like everything the infections caused in my body, the sick feeling, everything. I literally was in recovery. I opened my eyes and I felt 1,000 times better. You know, so yeah, it's really it is a lifestyle. In my case, it wasn't a choice; it had to come off. But if you know if you're feeling sick and eventually they're telling you it's going to have to come off, it's better to do it earlier than later. It really is, because it'll make such a difference in your life. I keep myself so busy between work and my personal life and whatever else that I don't have time to reflect on, you know, why did this happen to me and what am I going to do. I have life to live. I have so much to do, and I'm going to do it. And if you just keep thinking back and you keep sort of feeling sorry for yourself, or you just, you know, don't know how to deal with it, there's lots of places you can get help. But the secret to it, to surviving it, is to always maintaining a great attitude, setting goals, and accomplishing those goals. And you'll see how quickly it goes.
I was on a business trip, and I felt when I was away, I had something to eat for dinner, and something just seemed off.
I got diagnosed with something called Barrett's esophagus from 9/11 back in 2006. So I've been scoped and monitored since 2006 because Barrett's esophagus leads to esophageal adenocarcinoma.
I had the scope, and I went back 2 days later. They got the biopsy back, and it came back positive of having the endocarcinoma. And I met with him, and he goes, "Mark, you're stage 3." And at that point, I was just, you know, what do I do? What happens at this point? And he goes, "Well, we have a protocol. And the protocol is going to be you're going to do chemotherapy, radiation, and then you have the full surgery where they remove the lower part of your esophagus and hopefully only 20% of your stomach."
I started making sure all of my affairs were in order. I started writing letters to my wife and 2 children for the next 20 years for them to open up on birthdays, because once I saw the statistics of this disease, I was convinced this is the end. But once I got to Sloan Kettering and met with the professionals and got, you know, their plan for me, which was curative, my mindset changed, and I went into fight mode, and I just pressed on and said, "This is not going to beat me." After that, I became incredibly proactive. I tracked down every survivor that I could find.
I introduced myself, and you know that I got your number from Sloan, and I hear you got a little cancer. Just a little bit. And I had a little cancer, and I don't have a little cancer anymore. It's all gone. Go ahead and ask me whatever you want, and I'll be as honest as possible. After a while, you just become friends. I mean, we
Absolutely.
became friends.
I actually needed him. He's the yin to my yang. I'm a very aggressive, very type A type personality, and he's the guy that kind of comes in and knocks me down a little bit, brings me back down to where I should be, takes the stress out, shows me how to deal with things in a different way. But that's what we're both here for each other for everything.
Yeah.
Love it, man.
Love you too, bro.
I was diagnosed on December 22nd, 2011. It was kind of a pretty rough process how it happened. It took about 10 doctors over a 3.5 month period where we really didn't know what was going on with me. So one day I went to a dermatologist right after one of my finals at school, and she told me we got a biopsy on my leg, and I went to the hospital for blood work, and then found out I had a 20 centimeter mass in my chest. Every time my cancer's reoccurred, it's been harder each time just because I know what I have to go through, and I'm getting older, and I know, because at the time I kind of thought I had this invincible kind of trait. I didn't think it was really possible for me to die or anything like that. So not saying that I still think that now, but it's definitely more realistic than it was at the time. So the one thing I was truly afraid of wasn't really the chemo or anything like that, was the thought of me actually having to spend a month in a hospital through a very painful process, which when I had it was a very painful process. There was just this stereotype that just because you were sick, they talked to you as if like you couldn't do certain things, and everyone thought just because you had cancer you were weak. So just one day I was in the gym and I saw one of the boxing coaches, and I just walked in there. I remember walked in there, I was bald and I looked awful, and I just put on gloves the same day, and then I just fell in love with it. Especially when I would fight, I wouldn't think about my cancer. So if I can get like 10-15 minutes of just not thinking about cancer, just thinking about getting punched in the face, it was great, just because I had that relief. In my eyes, if I'm still moving, I'm not going to die. That's how I think about it. So the day that I can't work out, the days that I can't, that's when I have to start worrying. It's a lot harder now because I feel like I have more responsibilities now. It wasn't just, I just got to survive for me and my family, and that's it. I've been very blessed with the fact that a lot of people are inspired by my story. So I've helped a lot of people through this entire journey. So it's not just, I'm just fighting for myself and my family. I feel like I'm fighting for everybody. So there's a lot of pressure in it because it's just, you invest so much in your life and you try so hard, and no one wants to fail, especially someone like me that's as stubborn as I am. You know, I don't like to lose. So it's I like to kind of think about it as just, it's a nice competitive opponent. You know, I have to tell myself that, or I'll probably go crazy.
It can be really devastating being the target. When you're not in front of the gun, it's a totally different thing. To see someone say something about someone else is completely different than experiencing it yourself. And unfortunately, when I was the target, I was also experiencing a lot of other negative things in my life. I was suffering through depression, anxiety. I was, seeing a therapist, having a lot of trouble in school. So it can really be devastating, and it can make, wanting to go in front of peers every day really hard, knowing the things that they're saying, not even behind your back, but like literally to your face over social media. If you know the person, ask them, say like, hey, I really don't appreciate, you doing this without my knowledge. Can you please delete this photo? On almost every social media that I know of, there's a flag, there's a report, there's blocking, there's something that you can do to cut off contact with specific accounts, specific users, and you can even report specific, pictures, tweets, things that they've posted, to say like, this is like harmful. I felt embarrassed to say like, I'm being made fun of, because the typical thing that you think a parent would say is, oh, don't pay attention to it, it'll go away if you ignore them. But that's not how it feels in the moment.
Right.
So, you want like immediate, satisfaction. You want it to go away, like right away. When it was happening to me, my friends actually sent a group text to my mom, and they were letting her know what's going on. And at the time, I was so mad at them. I thought that they were going behind my back and like ratting me out to my mom. I didn't want my mom to know that I was having trouble and that I was so upset. And looking back on it, I'm really, really glad that they did that, because it saved me. And in the long run, they need to think about what's best for your friend, whether they're gonna be mad at you or not. The first person you should go to would be someone you really trust. Someone who you wouldn't think would, brush you off. If you have a really close friend or a close teacher or a guidance counselor or an adult, you should go to them and you should say like, hey, like this is happening. People aren't really thinking it's a big deal, but I'm really hurt by it. If other people besides yourself are involved, you need to let them know what you're going to be saying about them. I've
been pogo sticking for almost 4 years now. I'll turn 18 next month. And pogoing has become, it went from a hobby to, a lifestyle, and I love every bit of it.
My name is Henry Cabellas. I go to school with Nick. We get to pogo stick a lot, which is nice. I don't think I was very competitive at all, and I think that's why I kind of like the individual thing. Instead of having to like compete against other people, I was just able to do my own thing and have fun with it. And that's why I like to do a lot of things like skiing, and I think that's probably the reason I liked music a lot. Me and my little brother both paid for half of a pogo stick, and then I went through a couple and they just kind of started breaking, and I kind of got tired of it. And then I just kind of took a break for a couple years until I saw Nick trying out for the talent show with the pogo stick, and that just like, from then on, I was just hooked.
The day before the live talent show, the rehearsal, I was bouncing, very, very excited, and actually hit my shoulder up on the stage light, and that offset my next bounce enough so that I slipped out on a polished surface on the lip of the stage and knocked myself clean out right in front of this kid. And his first thought, of course, was, I want to do that. Both pretty much all self-taught. When we began pogo sticking, the very beginning, it was based entirely online because the pogo sticking community has guys all across the world. And so we had to just, talk through the internet. There was an online forum back then, xpogo.com. Xpogo has been a company for just about 10 years now, maybe a little less. And we've been growing just doing these gigs, getting a team together of all the pro riders across the globe. Xpogo sends out athletes to do demos and shows, as well as these competitions like Pogopalooza. I'm excited to see where Xpogo as a company will go and take me. But I plan to stick with pogoing as long as I'm having fun with it and being successful. But in the future, going to college and also opening that path up.
Yep. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna kind of see how far posting takes me, and then, I'm gonna see how far it can take me up to college. Then once I'm in college, I'm probably gonna focus more on that. For the time being, if posting isn't really going that far, I'm assuming it's gonna go a lot further. But if it doesn't, then I think I'm just gonna end up getting a full-time job.
I am the Assistant Director of Resource Development, which means that I develop resources. Anyone who is able to hear and understand the conversation of organ and tissue donation transplantation, those are the resources that we're trying to build. 5 years ago, I just had picked up my mom at Newark Airport, and we got onto the New Jersey Turnpike. And unfortunately, a tractor trailer hit us from behind. And unfortunately, my mom never woke up. And unfortunately, we didn't talk about what she would want to have happen should we get hit on the turnpike, and she didn't wake up. My mom, the way she led her life always was to put other people ahead of herself, and always to be giving and giving. And so when we accepted the fact that but for this machine that she was gone, the New Jersey Sharing Network then approached my siblings and I and asked us if we thought that my mom would want to give the gift of life. So my mom gave the gift of life to 3 people with her 2 kidneys and her liver, and she gave the gift of tissue to over 43 others. I found out that there was a position open, and then I found myself available now to go and work for the New Jersey Sharing Network. Donate Life America launched a new registry that's online, that's web-based, that you can do from your smartphone or from your laptop. And if you visit www.njsharingnetwork.org and hit the register button, it will take you right to this Donate Life America national registry. One donor can save 8 other people's lives.
Wow.
With all of their organs. Right now, there are about 122,000 people on the waiting list across the country. The more we speak to people, it doesn't matter what culture, what color you are, what religion you are, the more we speak to people, the more, I want to say, buy-in and understanding we get from those individuals. So communication and getting rid of all the myths and misconceptions is critically important. Mm-hmm. So no age limit, no economic barriers, no religion, no education, nothing. So that is why it's so critically important for us to speak to the world at large, because everyone could be impacted as either a donor or a recipient.
And basically I was leading a pretty normal life until found out I had a liver problem. Mm-hmm. So, no, normal symptoms, which would be discoloration or swelling or anything. There was just nothing. I had heart tests for breathing problems, and then lung tests, and then finally one pulmonologist said, maybe you should go to the Mount Sinai in New York, and you might have a liver problem. When we went to get our diagnosis, you know what, Mr. Vitale, we're really sorry, but liver disease comes in 4 stages, 1 through 4. You don't want to be a 4, and you're 4.5. Mm-hmm. And oh, by the way, your liver's shutting your lungs down. It's terminal hepatopulmonary syndrome, and there's no cure, there's no surgery, there's no medicine. It's just a very rare disorder, and unless you get a liver transplant, you're not going to make it. Their waiting list here in New York, where the donation rate's about 23% of the population, was a 2-year wait, so they suggested if we could go to Cleveland, let's do that. So we went to Cleveland to be evaluated. First of all, the donation rate in Ohio is 60%, and less people have a need. So there was a better opportunity that they had about a 6-month window. So I figured, all right, I've got 6 months, it's a 6-month window, what do we have to lose? It's a very difficult wait for both of us. You're in a hotel room, you're alone. There's really no family, there's no friends, there's no one to talk to except each other, which is okay. But some outside social workers would have been nice, or some other people had experienced what I was experiencing.
I kept telling Brian how grateful I was that I couldn't imagine if we were going through the health crisis and then had the financial burdens and everything else, and we were so lucky that we didn't have that issue. So we knew we wanted to give back, and the whole idea of having a transplant house where we can have a community and a home away from home for people and they can support each other it was really important to us.
It's a beautiful project, and we met with Erica, and then we prayed over this and decided, okay, this is our calling. We are going to give them the jump start they need. So we wrote a check, and it's just remarkable to see all the interactions of these people. These people are all helping each other. Our experiences would have been so much better if there had been a transplant house.
Well, I've been working at Memorial Sloan Kettering for 15 years. I'm a guest service rep there, and I just love what I do. I remember one time we were sitting in my grandmom's kitchen, and she said, I want to tell you something. You have a gift, and I don't think that you realize that. And I see in your spirit, she used to call me her old spirit because she used to see how I was just driven to people to love all and just to encourage those, even at that age. Every single person that walks through that door, I embrace them as if they were my own family. And I really and truly put my feet in their shoes. In 2004, I was having problems experiencing breathing, swallowing. And so I went to him and it discovered that I had stage 1 of thyroid and a mass order. And it's just a thing where, I can sense when they have fear. I can sense when they're nervous, whether they're coming in for the first time or the 50th time. And it's just something that I'm drawn to, because I would want it done for me. And I know the importance of healing is energy and positive energy. They want and they need. And the importance of it is to show that someone really cares. I've really and truly, I can tell when you have fear without you even showing it. I can tell you when you're probably afraid or that you're nervous and that you may have a lot going on in your mind. I could just pick that up. So I slowly but surely just go up and just give you the encouragement just to let you know that we're here, we're going to help you through it, we're going to get you through it, and it's all possible because there's hope in it all. And I've seen it. So that's why I'm there to give you that hope, to remind you that you never lose it. You've always had it in you. You got that fight.
I was born with blue baby syndrome. So after that, they figured something was wrong, and I was born in Bayonne Hospital, and then they transferred me to Mount Sinai in New York. They thought it was probably tetralogy of Fallot, and so there's 4 parts to it, and all of those parts lead up to the blood entering and leaving the heart to mix in with each other. That's not really what you want. I was lucky. I got to wait 6 months before I had the surgery. My first open heart surgery, I was 6 months old, so I was a lot luckier than a lot of kids. I've played a lot of sports. I've played baseball a long time. I used to play basketball, flag football, things like that. They always told me, just take a break if you need to. You don't have to go 100 miles an hour all the time. So I was always careful. If I was out of breath, stop for a minute. I would always get tired faster than everyone else, but that's normal with the heart condition. So I just tried to pace myself a little bit more than everyone else and just try to play everything safe. I had a class on the 4th floor of one of my buildings and I couldn't do it.
Oh, wow.
So I had to get an elevator pass, and we went to the doctor. We figured that we'd probably do it soon, the surgery. So we did it in December of my freshman year. And then that was it. Figured I need one at some point, I just didn't really know when. So nothing really stands out until the week before. You start getting really nervous for it. But my family was great during the whole process, so it was easy. I have a pig valve now. The goal is to make sure that the valve they put in is going to last a long time, but the average is kind of shaky, so it varies with different people, different conditions, but yeah, I think this one's going to last me a long time, so I still feel great 3 years later. Well, I always tried to be careful, even before the surgery. I always wore a chest protector when I played baseball, but other than that, I wasn't really worried about anything because I knew the doctors did a great job.
Yeah.
I felt fine, but I wasn't really worried. Well, in terms of CHD, I want to be able to talk to kids like me and their families. Like, I didn't have anyone that had experience talking to me, and I think that would have helped a lot before I had the surgery. Just to kind of relax them a little bit and know that things are going to get better, things are all right.
Yeah.
Anything like that I'd really like to do.
I wasn't really doing self-checks every month. I mean, when I knew something was wrong, my left testicle was enlarged and firm. So that was my first clue. But I didn't say anything to anyone about it for a few weeks. It wasn't until I had a pretty serious pain in that area. So I went to urgent care center up there, and then they referred me to the hospital, to the ER, had an ultrasound. And from there, once it was confirmed what it was, when I went back home to New Jersey, I went to a urologist and took the next steps from there. And the doctor did say, if you have to get cancer, testicular cancer is the one to get because of such a high success rate. So I was encouraged and just wanted to beat it. I was determined to beat it. I've always been a pretty positive guy even before what I went through. So I just decided it would be pretty cool to see the progression as I went through the treatment. Hair, no hair, and then hair again. But in my mind, I knew I was going to be okay. I was going to beat it. So it was easy to stay positive throughout. I think just being part of such a tight-knit, positive family, that definitely is probably where I got it from. Yeah, like you said, not a lot of people want to talk about it. I became very open about it, and once I became open about it, not everyone, but a lot of people said, "Oh, my brother-in-law has testicular cancer.
Right.
He's married with 3 kids now." So it gave me hope and more encouragement and determination that I was going to be okay. You never think it's going to be you, but it happened to me. It can happen to anybody. You never know when. I was 26, thinking I was young, no fear that I would ever get that, have cancer at that age, but it happened. So I guess my advice would be check early, check often. If you think something's there, don't be afraid to get it checked.
I played 12 years in the NFL, played for 7 teams, from 1998 to 2010. The most important thing in terms of team and really as individuals within that team is to be honest. And so within the lung cancer space, there's a smoking stigma. We understand that there is a smoking stigma, that people have only seen that. But to be honest is to ask the question, where did it come from? And once you do that, then you realize that for the last 30, 40 years that there have been commercials about lung cancer and smoking. That's it. So all you've seen is a prevention. My wife Keisha Rutledge Draft, just at the peak of conditioning, had a little shortness of breath. And what do you know? Stage 4 lung cancer.
Wow.
Stage 4 lung cancer. And you find out the most important fact about lung cancer is that anyone can get it. You can't just sit there. You got to keep moving. You got to move forward. We have modified the game plan and we keep going. And so within that year, Keisha kept living. She kept, every year, every day kept finding a joy in each day. And again, then we were able to get engaged, and then we were able to be married. And so when we got married, that's when we launched our Team Draft initiative. The foundation initially was founded with a mission of empowering families to live healthy lifestyle. Smoking will be part of it, but we're going to talk about a healthy lifestyle overall. You could have a tremendous family, a tremendous community, a tremendous group around you, but then sometimes bad things happen.
Yeah.
And when it does, we need early detection.
Yeah.
We need great treatment, and we need research.
Right.
And that's where Team Draft starts. Prevention is personal responsibility, where cancer is a compassion campaign that's driven by people realizing that cancer potentially can happen to them.
Yeah.
So what was missing within lung cancer was really a campaign that said this could be you. We're going to tell the whole story initially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, how do we talk to somebody about the importance of early detection and treatment and research? Well, it has to be about people. Otherwise, they won't care. We are bringing together cancer centers. We're bringing together survivors. We're challenging the way things were done.
The day has come. I'm gonna give myself a chance. Fear is gone. This time I'm getting up and moving on. The wait is over. Yeah, it's my life. This is my life. I can do this. Just stick around, you'll see. Going through this takes every part of me. What I'm feeling down inside, it's like a roller coaster ride. But it's true, yes. I can do this. I want the world to see. I can do this. Hey, look what I have done with me. I'll keep my hands up high on this roller coaster ride. 'Cause it's true, yes. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this.
Wasn't that a great show?
It was really inspirational.
It was. All the quotes and the inspiration from the patients and caregivers over the many, many months that we've been doing H360 Live. We thought it was a good time to step back and just refresh and get ourselves reacquainted with those individuals. So great show. I'd like to thank them always for coming in and spending time with us. I'd like to thank all of you for tuning in with us, and I'd like to thank our sponsors for making it all possible. Remember, all of our episodes can be viewed on demand at healthyo360.com, and our podcast can be found in the iTunes Store.
Well, we love social media, and we're all over Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest using the hashtag #RealStories when posting, and we'd greatly appreciate it if you would do the same. On behalf of Dave Duplay, myself, and the entire Healthyo360 family, we'd like to thank you again for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.